My name is Csaba Vaszko from Hungary, and I represent a new, evolving and developing community on the Hungarian and Romanian border. The community is now building itself up to become a catchment community with the aim to be able to manage the water resources locally and increase by this the climate resilience. Next slide, please. Did it move? Thank you. This is the geographical scope. The area is located in the southeast of Hungary, which is the western part of Romania, right next to the border. I'm not going into details, but the point is that about how much or how many and which settlements are affected. But the point is there is 8 settlements on the Hungarian side and 3 settlements on the Romanian side. On the left side of the slide, you can see an interesting map. We call it puddle map, and it basically shows the previous historical situation when which existed for centuries, when the whole Great Plain and the lowland, including our area, was rich in permanent and temporary surface water bodies. Nobody wants to bring this back, but nobody would have thought that 100 years later, the surface water would have almost disappeared to a certain extent. Next slide, please. Thank you. This slide shows you how the landscape has changed and how the communities have changed. The key land and water use driver is the agriculture, which is mainly intensive. It was the driver of the mismanagement of the floodplains areas, like my area. The rivers were regulated, channeled, and the floodplain was narrowed in between the dikes, and most ecosystems have been converted into non-productive croplands. And the vulnerability to climate change is high, so communities are exposed to long and unexpected droughts and floods, and these two phenomena, like now, can follow each other in a very short time. And previous livelihoods that maintained and used these resources and ecosystems have disappeared. So there is migration, and the local economy is decreasing. So the stresses from climate change are amplifying the human stresses, and that's all has led to a broken balance between nature and communities. Next slide, please. Yes, our objective is if we can retain and store the surface water that accumulates in the landscape, in the area, and the water that comes from across the border, then we can create opportunities to improve quality of life for communities, improve agricultural conditions, transform agriculture, and we can create new, perhaps we can create new local supply chains for food production, or make these areas a special supply region for large supply chains. So bringing more water and storing more water at landscape level will be good for economy, community, and nature. Next slide, please. Yeah, not going to details about but this is about stakeholders and the community. We are trying to build up this community catchment to become a catchment community. And we are identifying the motivations and the shared values of these stakeholders and the roles and responsibilities of each participant. And it is very important that this has to be done neither too fast nor too slow, taking into account that if the essential actors are not funded, then we cannot really achieve any results. Next slide, please. This is the timeline, but please only focus on the left side of the slide, which is about the short-term planned interventions or actions. We want to become a catchment community that can function, has tasks to do, with responsibilities and roles and funding. And we also want to review and modify the legal framework for cross-border water governance and management. This is a very difficult task to achieve, to reach those who are responsible for this. And we want to identify and activate lands in the agricultural landscape to include in water retention, natural water retention. Next slide, please. This is my final slide about the policy needs and barriers. Policy could help a lot. On the agricultural side, it is necessary to support water retention over irrigation. It is incredible that irrigation permits are or can be issued even in critical droughts. It is also important to support agricultural lands or sites that are temporarily under water or waterlogged. It is also important that illegal abstraction and irrigation should be detected. We have the tools, we just don't use them. From an environmental and water framework directive perspective, it would be very important to improve water governance and water resource management in transboundary regions in case of small water courses, because we have many. And it is also important to support self-organized catchment-based communities because state water authorities are not able to intervene in rural areas. They are very important participants, but they are not able to intervene. On the climate and energy side, it is important to support that water governance, directing water in the landscape should be based and functioned on renewable energy sources. It is also important that agricultural areas that are involved and activated in water retention should be compensated for the services in carbon storage and sequestration as well. And the designation and construction and operation of renewable energy investments that we heard should not negatively affect local resources. They should provide benefits. And finally, all funding under the territorial and urban development that accelerate surface runoff and thereby increase flood risk or prevent infiltration and thereby increase droughts should be eliminated. Thank you very much.
Okay, many thanks, Csaba, especially for your very clear presentation and very keeping to the time limit. If there's an urgent question immediately, not a comment, but a specific clarification question, you can ask it now. Otherwise, we'll probably go to the next example. The next example is from Spain, and it is this is a leader lag, which as I believe is supporting the one of the water contracts that were mentioned in the previous session. So I think Anabel, you're going to, you're sharing your own screen, or is it, I don't know, yeah, would you want us?
I'm going to share it.
Okay, great. So please go ahead.
It's already.
We can see it. Oh yeah, now it's perfect.
Perfect. So I'm Anabel from Granada in Andalusia in Spain, and we are going to talk about the value of the process of the river contract and the process of in itself. Well, we will begin explaining what a river contract is and why did we work on it. The Green Book for Water Governance made by our Ministry for Ecological Transition and Demographic Challenge offered us a very useful tool to achieve our goal, the river contract. And with this Green Book defines a river contract is a management agreement between public and private organisms interested on a certain river space to try to reconcile the various uses and functions within the river. These are very broad participatory processes which are usually developed through collaboration agreements, and they involve a large number of agents. And we have already applied to the Ministry and to the Guadalquivir Hydrographic Confederation to be a possible pilot experience with an advanced work. Well, our area is a semi-desertical one We have an average altitude of 950 meters and a climate with very cold winters and hot summers. And we are living each year more hot summers. And for centuries, there have been attempts to transfer water to other basins. We have mountains with more than 2,000 meters of altitude, and we have lost the greens. Our geology is a very long history. We are in the Granada Geopark, and our human and living conditions have also been marked by the hydrological system. Well, we have an agricultural model with many lacks and dangers, like non-adequate planification, new intensive models, abandoned farmlands, historical rights questioned. We haven't got a good management in the water river management. We depend too much in the supply of groundwater masses, and the purification system and infrastructure are precarious. We have also a lack of coordination between authorities and a lack of control of uses of the demand. And then we have also a lack of control of uses. We have an overexploitation of aquifers and an alteration of the natural regime of river flows. We have also a lack of knowledge of the general water situation, with no participation in processes that affect everybody, with social conflicts, and a lack of territorial governance in the management. So we began to work in these 3 steps. For the contract river, it's a participatory governance process. The first step was to analyze and to give information with territorial meetings, opinions, proposals, discussion groups, and we had an operation draft. The second step was the participatory process. We had to consolidate the assembly and launch the working groups to analyze information and prepare proposals. And the third one was the consolidation and approval, and the final document with allegations. So the main stakeholders to achieve the goals for the river contract were social and economical organizations in the agricultural sector, especially the irrigation communities, water operation, other kind of companies and organizations like tourism, industry. We have also pig farms, citizens, cultural, environmental, social organizations, and other institutions related with water management. To solve these conflicts, we needed this river contract. So we try to work on conflicts resolution together, being the main interlocutor before the competent administration. We wanted also to have a useful governance tool, promote the creation of communities of water users, help in the search of funds, and try to share the costs of maintenance for distributions or water use, and improve the protection of specific spaces like aquifers, meadows, riverbanks, traditional irrigation. We also were trying to increase the participation, working on conflict resolution, being the main interlocutor, and a good tool to a useful governance to improve water management. Coordination between autonomous administration and local ones, trying to be more efficient with water purification and working with cheaper technologies. We have also carried out studies and projects to improve knowledge and state of the territory's resources, management of the water, and adapting everything to the climate change. So we have this this is the organization like we have it now. This is the Alto Guadiana Menor River Contract Association. It is already created. There's an assembly and a board of directors headed by a presidency. And we have also the tools to be able to work in a coordinated way for the first time. Now it's time to energize the population to use these tools. And for the first time in centuries, we have an agreement with all the stakeholders to make allegations all together to the hydrologic plan. So we have improved our social capital. And we finish with this sentence: drinking water gives us life, but being aware will give us water.